Hey guys, John Post here. I'm going to be taking you through the inspection phase of buying a home today. We're going to start right at the beginning and explain the importance of getting an inspection and what inspections to ask for when you submit your offer on a home. Then we're going to take it all the way down to when you negotiate repairs from a seller. So here we go. Let's dive in. Step one, during the inspection phase, this occurs before you actually get the house under contract, okay? This is when you're making your offer on the property. It's very important to know what inspections you need to get before you write that offer on that house. Let me explain. Most of you know what a general home inspection entails. You know, a guy goes around, he plugs his outlet meter in, makes sure all the outlets are working, tests all the doorknobs. But one of the people that you should be consulting on what inspections you need to get, not your realtor, not your mom or dad, it's your mortgage broker. If you're getting financing, you want to ask them, hey, is there any inspections that are required for me to get my financing? Because if you're getting FHA financing, VA financing, USDA financing, we have something called PHFA in Pennsylvania that require a termite inspection, or a wood destroying insect inspection. And if you're buying a house on well or septic, they need to have a clear water quality test in order to approve that loan. You don't want to get to a week before settlement and then have the mortgage underwriter reach out and say, hey, could you send me that clear water test results? Ask me how I know, because it's happened to me and it's not fun. Then you're scrambling around trying to find somebody who can do it quick. So ask your mortgage broker, ask your realtor what inspections you need before you even write the offer. Full disclosure, guys, this isn't legal or accounting advice. So like I said, consult your team of professionals. And if you're looking for off-market and unlisted homes, give me a shout. Be happy to help you out. And guys, when you order your inspections, at least in Pennsylvania, on our standard agreement of sale, you have 10 days to complete your inspections and make your reply. And after that 10 days is up, you and the seller have 5 days to negotiate any repairs that you want to be done. Again, I'm not an attorney, but if you need more time or you need less time, that has to be in the agreement in writing. Okay, guys, that was step one. This is step two. So now we're going to the house. We're following the inspector out to the property and we're gonna watch him go around and inspect the house. So now, me personally, as a realtor, I don't go to home inspections anymore, not because I hate them, but they take so long. They're about 2-3 hours. And a lot of it's just inspector going around with, like, he has this outlet meter that he plugs into the wall, make sure all the outlets are grounded properly. He runs all the faucets, flushes all the toilets, and it can be time consuming. But if this is your first home or you're new to the process, I recommend you go because you're gonna be the one paying for the inspection. And that inspector is going to check every little thing they can if you get a good one. They're going to check the caulking around the bathroom tiles. They're going to check seals around the door to make sure there's no draft or daylight showing through. And they're also going to check, obviously, the big ticket items like roof, foundation, etc. But remember, a general home inspection is different than a wood destroying insect inspection, and it's different than a well, and it's different than a septic. So those are 4 different inspections off the top of my head that if you want those to be done, they got to be in your original offer when you submit the agreement to purchase the house. And here's a fun tip for you. So the inspector, he's going to find every little thing wrong with the house. That's his job. So don't let that scare you, especially if he's rattling off a bunch of little things. But if you start to get overwhelmed, ask the inspector this. Say, hey, well, I noticed you pointed that out. In your experience, if you were buying this house, would this prevent you from purchasing it? But by asking that question, you can give yourself a little peace of mind. Okay, guys, that was step 2. Now we're on to step 3. Step 3, the inspection's done, and the inspector's sending us back this thick book, which is his report of all the stuff that he found. They don't usually give you a printout anymore. They give you a PDF sent to your email. And when you get it, make sure that your realtor or whoever you're working with is CC'd on that so that they can read it with you. So the first step when you go over this report, set aside at least an hour because I'm telling you, they can take a while to read and digest. So set aside an hour, get a cup of coffee and sit down and just start reading it. I like to skim it first because usually any recommended repairs or issues the inspector found are in red. So it'll say recommend, repair, replace. You could find that in a good once over. But the big things that I start with, I usually start under the section that's in the table of contents in the report. I go with roof, foundation, and plumbing. I want to know if there's any leaks or areas that might need sealed or waterproofed. And another quick tip here for you guys. Like I said, don't panic if you see that this report is a mile long and it's got a bunch of little things. As you go through it, I want you to make a list on a sheet of paper. On one side, right down the middle, there's a line right down the middle. And on one side, you put minor repairs that you could live with if you had to. And on the other side, I want you to put non-negotiables. These need to be fixed in order for me to buy this house. That piece of paper will come in handy on step 4. Okay, guys, step 4. Remember what I said? You got your sheet of paper, stuff that you want fixed and stuff that you could live with, but it'd be nice to have it done. And that's how you're going to prioritize what you go back to the seller with. Like, I wouldn't waste any time asking for cosmetic stuff. Like, if you know there's a stain on the carpet, if you know that the drywall is a little scuffed up and needs a magic eraser, I mean, If I'm the seller, I would say, well, you knew that when you made the offer, right? And most people can understand that, but don't ask for any ticky-tack stuff because then it'll just make the seller mad. But if you came across anything that's showed the foundation was maybe bowing, like one of the walls was buckling, if the inspector pointed out black mold, that could mean there's a leak somewhere that didn't really show up on the report. So make sure you hone in on those big ticket items so you don't get stuck with an expensive repair after you buy the house. Okay, guys, step 5. Now we're on to requesting repairs. So we went 1 through 4, and now we're going to be asking the seller to fix some of the stuff that we found on the report. This is really important. Don't overlook this step because it's very important on how you frame it. Once you've decided what needs fixing, you're going to outline it in this thing called a reply to inspection. At least that's what it's called here in Pennsylvania. So make your list. I recommend you put everything that you possibly can fit on that reply, because even if it's some smaller stuff that you would be okay with not being fixed, it'll give you some negotiating points. So for example, let's say that you found a leaky faucet, a doorknob that wouldn't latch, like a deadbolt. And let's say your ceiling fan wouldn't work, right? You couldn't get the ceiling fan blades to spin. But also, one of the walls in the basement was bowing, okay? I mentioned that before. We're going to assume that one of the walls in the basement had a little buckle to it. So all that's going on the inspection report, okay? On that reply to inspection, we're going to say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we'd like this fixed per page, whatever page it was on in the inspection report. You want to cite where it's at so it makes it easier for the seller's agent or the seller to find the repair so they can look at it too. Because you're going to have to send them that report. And also be specific. Make sure you put in there repairs to be completed by a qualified contractor or a qualified repairman. Because you don't want the seller interpreting that, well, hey, I can fix it myself. And you might find that sometimes the seller, they might be in a time crunch, like they got to close on a certain date, or they might be out of state and they can't handle these repairs and meet contractors out at the property. So you might find that they're just like, hey, would you take a cash credit instead of us doing these repairs? That's another option that you have. But I recommend you lead with requesting the repairs first, not the cash credit, because then the seller's just going to think, well, hey, they just want money. And remember, it's a negotiation. This isn't supposed to be that stressful. It's supposed to be fun. And this is just an essential step to get you one step closer to getting the house keys. And side note, if you got to this point and there's a lot of stuff on that report, like that's really scaring you, like the septic test came back poorly, the foundation wall is buckling, the roof is going to need repaired, it's okay to jump ship during the inspection phase. It's happened to me. It's happened to my clients. That's why you've got the inspection, to find any major repairs that need done so you can either address them or just move on to another house. All right, guys, we're steps 1 through 5. Now we're on to step 6. This is after we submit the repairs to the seller. This is what we're going to be talking about, what the seller can do when you ask for those inspection repairs. There's 3 things. They can accept it, they can reject it, which you don't want, or they can counter you. So accept means everything you proposed them to fix, they're going to do it. Rejecting means they're not going to do anything and they're not going to budge, which sucks. And I've been there as well. But we're going to talk about the countering phase, which means that they won't do all the stuff that you asked for, but they'll do some of it. And if they counter you, don't panic. That's a good sign. That means they're willing to work with you. But just make sure your non-negotiables are among the items that are being fixed. And what will end up happening is you'll come to terms on the items being fixed, or you'll come to terms on a cash credit or a reduction in the sale price. Just be aware, if you take that second route, you'll be the one responsible for repairing those items after you buy the house. And negotiating can be kind of fun, guys, so don't get too worked up about it. But the main thing is just make sure everybody's 100% clear before you move forward. You don't want to think that the seller interpreted what you wanted done correctly. You want to make sure it's in black and white. This is what's going to happen as a result of this inspection reply. And then once everybody's on the same page, you'll put it on an addendum. So this is what actually changes the agreement of sale and obligates the seller to fulfill the request you made as a result of the inspection. Okay, guys, step number 7. Now we're finalizing this thing. We got it on an addendum. Seller agreed to fix XYZ, moving smoothly, right? You may be wondering, well, how the heck do I know that the seller's going to do this stuff, right? The next time that you'll be in that house, most likely is during the final walkthrough. The final walkthrough occurs usually the day of settlement, and that's just to ensure that the house is in the same condition as when you originally made the offer. Coincidentally, this is the same time that you'll go through with your list, your addendum that the seller agreed to fix, and you're going to make sure and check off that the seller did those items. And if it's something that you can't see, like seller was to take off drywall and repair a pipe behind the drywall, make sure the seller gives you receipts at settlement. Because remember, the work was meant to be done by a qualified contractor, right? And if the stuff on the list is not done, then speak up. This is your last chance and you want to make sure it's done right. Usually it happens because of a miscommunication, but you don't want to let that stuff slide. And here's another quick tip for you guys. If you come across a seller who's being a bear and they just don't want to negotiate anything, sometimes it helps you to gently remind them that, at least in Pennsylvania, the stuff that you found on that inspection report, any defects that come as a result of that, they have to be disclosed to the next buyer. So even if the seller doesn't come to terms with you and you got to cancel the agreement and jump ship, the seller has to disclose all those newfound defects that are on that report. You don't want to strong arm them or intimidate them. You just want to say, look, I'm ready, willing, and able. I just want to get this negotiated through. Because if you don't, then you're going to have to disclose this to the next buyer, or you're going to have to fix it anyway. The idea is bird in the hand's worth 2 in the bush. Okay, guys, home inspections are a crucial part of the buying process. Whatever you do, make sure you get one if you can, and give you a lot of peace of mind. and help you avoid some costly repairs down the road. Guys, if you have questions, I'll put my contact info in the description. I'll also put a link to request 11 costly home inspection pitfalls. That's a report I've made in supplement to this video that you can get instant access to that goes over some of the common things and issues that you find during a home inspection. It's a good thing to print out and stuff in your pocket. And also, guys, if you're in the central PA area, like I mentioned, I'm in the Carlisle area, but I service Hershey, Lebanon, pretty much all of the greater Harrisburg area of Pennsylvania, and you want to get access to off-market and unlisted places around here, give me a shout. There's no obligation to buy a home, and we can get you started on that as soon as possible. And please subscribe. I hope you enjoyed this. Keep an eye out because I'm going to be making a few more videos to help you along your home buying journey. Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.